Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.
Question 1. Delinquency in real estate terms means A. A failure to pay mortgage payments on time. B. Failure to notify by recording of the deed. C. Failure to provide required disclosures. D. None of these. Answer. A. Failing to pay mortgage payments on time creates delinquency of the loan. Question 2. A credit repository is A. An organization that gathers, records, updates, and stores financial and public records of individuals being considered for credit. B. The institution that issues a FICO score. C. TransUnion. D. None of these. Answer. A credit repository is the institution that gathers, records, updates, and stores financial and public records of individuals being considered for credit. Question 3. Real property where all the owners own the property, common areas, and building together but with the exception of the interior of the unit to which they have title is called A. An apartment complex. B. A condominium. C. A planned development. D. A homeowners association. Answer. B. This is the definition of a condominium. It is a type of ownership. Question 4. An additional individual who is both obligated on the loan and is on the title to the property is called A. An agent party. B. A co-borrower. C. A partner. D. A borrower in trust. Answer. B. A person that is added to the loan becomes obligated for the loan and is also on the title to the property is called a co-borrower. Question 5. The certificate of reasonable value is issued after A. An appraisal of a property being bought with a VA loan. B. The sale of the property being bought with a VA loan. C. An appraisal of a property being bought with a conventional loan. D. The sale of the property being bought with a conventional loan. Answer. A. The certificate of reasonable value is issued by the VA on a property after an appraisal has been issued if the property is being bought with a VA loan. Question 6. If a property is being evaluated for tax purposes in regards to its value, this would be called A. An assessment. B. An appraisal. C. An estimate. D. A county recording. Answer. A. When a property has a value placed on it for purposes of taxation, this is called an assessment. Question 7. The Veterans Administration is an agency of the federal government that A. Guarantees residential mortgages made to eligible veterans of the military services. B. Issues loans directly to veterans. C. Protects veterans against loss in the housing market during a downturn. D. None of these. Answer. A. The Veterans Administration is an agency of the federal government that guarantees a lender against loss on loans made to eligible veterans. This encourages lenders to make more loans to veterans because it is guaranteed against loss. Question 8. Disputes over the ownership of a property can be protected against by purchasing A. Lender's insurance. B. Title insurance. C. Conveyance insurance. D. Deed insurance. Answer. B. Title insurance protects the lender or the buyer against any loss arising from the dispute over ownership of a property. Question 9. If a lien has a lower priority than the first mortgage or lien, this would be known as A. Subordinate. B. Under. C. Inferior. D. Underprioritized. Answer. A. Subordinate financing is any lien or mortgage that has a lower priority than the first mortgage. This means that any creditor would be paid on the first mortgage or lien before all others. Question 10. When a loan is backed by security or collateral, it is called A. A secured loan. B. A protected loan. C. An insulated loan. D. A collateral loan. Answer. A. A secured loan is any loan that is backed by collateral or security.
Passing the real estate exam can be hard, like really hard. Statistically, only about 50% of people actually pass the real estate exam on their first try. Those people that pass, they go on to become real estate agents. And the people that didn't pass, they either give up completely or have to try again. Both of these options are painful, disappointing, and upsetting. Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition has been named as the best real estate exam prep by multiple publications for 7 years in a row. If you are about to take the real estate exam, Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition is a no-brainer choice. There is no other real estate exam preparation service out there that comes close. To enjoy the longest membership time, lowest cost, real estate videos, audios, articles, flashcards, vocabulary, exam tips and tricks, a 1-year no questions asked refund policy, and be one of the 35,000 people that it has helped pass the real estate exam, then sign up in less than 5 minutes at www.realestateexamscholar.com.
Question 1. A buyer of a residence, prior to the close of escrow, asks the broker for permission to move into the property. The broker should A. Deny the buyer permission. B. Grant the buyer oral permission. C. Ask the buyer to sign a lease for the property. D. Obtain written consent from the owner. Answer. D. Prior to the close of escrow, the seller is still the owner, therefore, the broker should get written consent from the owner before allowing a buyer to take possession. Question 2. An alienation clause provides that A. The principal amount of the loan, plus accrued interest, is due in the event of the sale of the property. B. The mortgage is security for a promissory note. C. A lien can be placed on the property that takes precedence over a prior recorded trust deed. D. None of the above. Answer. A. Also called due on sale. It states that the lender may demand the loan plus accrued interest be paid in full in the event the property is sold. Question 3. If a man has a freehold estate, which of the following would result in his having a less than freehold estate? A. Sale and leaseback. B. Selling the mineral rights to a third party. C. Giving a leasehold interest for 5 years. D. Granting a life estate. Answer. A. A less than freehold estate is a landlord/tenant arrangement. Of the choices offered, only a sale leaseback would result in a less than freehold estate. Question 4. Broker Young, as an agent, showed a property to James. James signed a deposit receipt which contained the following words: buyer to accept the property in an as-is condition. Broker Young knew that the plumbing in the property was in a major state of disrepair with parts missing, but he did not tell James. The problem with the plumbing would not be apparent to an ordinary, prudent person. If James sued the seller for damages for fraud, the court suit would probably be A. Unsuccessful because the as-is provision in the deposit receipt shows that there is a mutual understanding of possible defects. B. Unsuccessful because the deposit receipt specifically state buyer to accept the property in an as-is condition. C. Successful because the duty to disclose a material fact cannot be avoided by an as-is provision under the stated circumstances. D. Successful because as-is refers only to obvious defects. Answer. C. The real estate commissioner and the courts are very protective of consumers. Therefore, they will not allow an as-is clause to be valid except for obvious defects, which any reasonable and prudent person could discover. Question 5. To alienate title to real property, one would A. Encumber it. B. Place a homestead on the property. C. Convey the title. D. Cloud the title. Answer. C. The term alienate means to transfer or convey. To alienate title means to convey it. Question 6. Real property would include A. Real property tax lien. B. Trust deed. C. Crude oil which has just reached the surface in a pipe drilled beneath the land. D. None of the above are real property. Answer. D. None of the possible answers to this question is real property. A tax lien and a trust deed, although having to do with real property, are not real property. Oil which has been captured is personal property. Question 7. Which is true concerning an option? A. Title acquired by exercising an option usually dates back to the time of the option and cuts off intervening rights acquiring with knowledge of the existence of the option. B. Only the optioner is bound to a sale. C. The optionee has no interest or estate in the land. D. All of the above statements are true. Answer. D. All of these statements are true. Question 8. Abel buys Blackacre from Baker, taking title to the property subject to the existing loan. The person primarily responsible for the repayment of the loan would be A. Abel. B. Baker. C. Either Abel or Baker. D. Neither Abel or Baker. Answer. B. When a buyer takes title subject to the loan, the seller retains the responsibility for the repayment of the note. The buyer takes no responsibility for the note. The buyer can lose a property by foreclosure because a property was bought encumbered with loan, but after the foreclosure, if there is a deficiency in the process, the buyer is not liable for that note deficiency. Any suit would be against the seller for the deficiency judgment as the buyer's name does not appear on the note. Question 9. A lessee's interest is A. Personal property. B. A chattel reel. C. A grant to use property for a period of time which reverts to the grantor at the expiration of the term. D. All of the above. Answer. D. All three choices refer to the lessee's interest in real property. Always keep in mind that a lessee's interest is personal property known as chattel reel. Question 10. An apartment owner was figuring his net income for income tax purposes. He took the gross income and deducted certain expenses. Of the ones listed below, which could he not deduct? A. Depreciation. B. Interest on loan for purpose of purchasing the property. C. Management expenses. D. Cost of offense. Answer. D. Offense would be a capital improvement. The cost of it should be added to the cost basis of the property and depreciated. Question 1. Mutual mortgage insurance would be included in the issuance of A. A conventional loan. B. A Calvet loan. C. An FHA loan assumption. D. A VA-backed loan. Answer. C. FHA insures loans with mutual mortgage insurance. It is used by FHA to pay lenders any loss, within the insurance limits resulting from foreclosure. Question 2. Of the following factors, which is the one that would not contribute to obsolescence? A. Wear and tear from use. B. Out-of-date equipment. C. Change of locational demand. D. Misplacement of improvement. Answer. A. Wear and tear from use in physical deterioration. Out-of-date equipment is functional obsolescence. Change of locational demand and misplacement of improvement are both economic obsolescence. Question 3. Which of the following items would not be included in a bill of sale transferring a retail merchandising business? A. Inventory of stock. B. Assignment of leasehold. C. The trade name. D. List of fixtures and equipment. Answer. B. A bill of sale should include an inventory of the stock, the trade name, and a list of the fixtures and equipment. It would not include an assignment of the leasehold because that is personal property that should be transferred separately. Question 4. If an advertisement is placed in a newspaper advertising a home for sale and only the annual percentage rate is stated. A. The amount of the down payment must be included. B. The number of payments must be included. C. Additional disclosures are not required. D. The amount for the payment must be included. Answer. C. Stating the ARP is sufficient disclosure for the ad. The disclosure statement issued at or before closing would include a breakdown of the costs of credit, but not the ad. Question 5. What document is issued when a judgment for sale of the property is made by the court? A. Writ of execution. B. Attachment. C. Abstract of judgment. D. Sheriff's deed. Answer. A. A judgment by the court ordering the sale of property is known as writ of execution. An attachment holds property for court judgment. An abstract of judgment is a written decision of the court, when recorded creates a lien. A sheriff's deed is issued to the holder of a certificate of sale after the 1-year redemption period has passed under the terms of the mortgage foreclosure proceeding. Question 6. In the sale of a business opportunity, which of the following would contribute the least to goodwill? A. Advertising over a period of time. B. Continued public patronage of the establishment. C. Pleasant associations in the customer's minds because of past associations. D. Adequate stock and modern fixtures. Answer. D. Goodwill is defined as the expectation of continued public patronage. Of the choice offered, adequate stock and modern fixture would contribute the least to that expectation. Question 7. A licensee who has several years of experience in the industry decided to retire from actively marketing properties. Now she helps clients choose among the various alternatives involved in purchasing, using, or investing in property. What is her profession? A. Real estate counselor. B. Real estate appraiser. C. Real estate educator. D. Realtor. Answer. A. Advising and guiding investors and other buyers is counseling them. Many states require a person to have a real estate license to serve as a real estate advisor/counselor for a fee, since it involves skills and duties closely related to real estate brokerage. Question 8. An advertisement for the sale of real property placed by a real estate broker is prima facie evidence of fraudulent and misleading information when A. A misleading map is included in a newspaper advertisement offering a 20-year-old single-family residence for sale. B. The selling price and financing terms are not as stated. C. The interest rate on the note differs from its advertised yield. D. The name of the development is misspelled. Answer. C. Prima facie means on its face without further evidence. Real estate law specifically states that no place an advertisement concerning a note with an effective yield that does not also state the rate on the face of the note as prima facie evidence of fraud. Question 9. In an escrow, prepaid rents are normally A. Debited to the vendor, B. Credited to the vendor, C. Debited to the buyer, D. Credited to the buyer. Answer: D. The vendee is the buyer. The buyer normally receives the prepaid rents. Question 10. The words broker and realtor are A. Interchangeable, B. Different categories of membership in NAR, C. Different titles offered by separate professional organizations, D. Unrelated, a broker is a real estate licensee and a realtor is a member of NAR. Answer: D. Brokers are licensed by their state, realtors are voluntary members of the NAR, a trade association. Question 1. Which of the following best describes a complete escrow? A. It is considered a perfect escrow. B. The escrow holder has ceased being an agent for both parties. C. All papers are properly drawn up and ready for final steps to be taken to close the escrow. D. All services of the escrow holder are involved. Answer: C. The settlement in choice C describes a complete escrow. Usually an escrow is complete in the evening and closes the following morning when the deed is recorded. Question 2. When a legal description uses only sections, townships and ranges, the lines relate to the A. Government survey lines, B. Contour lines, C. Recorded tract map, D. Meets and bounds descriptions. Answer: A. Sections, townships and ranges are used in government surveys in describing the location of land. Meets and bounds description outlines a certain area. Question 3. A lender would be exempt from the requirement of providing the borrower with a federal right to rescind notice except A. If the loan is for more than $25,000 and is not secured by the borrower's personal residence. B. If security for the loan is commercial property.
C. If the loan is for business expansion.
D. If the borrower is refinancing. Answer: D. A negative question. Refinancing your personal residence is not an exemption and is fully covered by a 3-day right of rescission. Question 4. Fisk owns a lot. He also owns a right-of-way easement over the property of his neighbor, Smith. This easement is appurtenant to Fisk's lot. Fisk sells his lot to Jones without specific mention of the easement in the deed. The easement A. Remains with Fish as an encumbered interest. B. Passes to Jones. C. Terminates unless it is a covenant running with the land. D. Reverts to Smith. Answer: B. Appurtenant easements run with the land and automatically pass to future grantees, whether mentioned in the deed or not. Question 5. Which of the following would normally install conduit? A. Plumbers, B. Electricians, C. Roofers, D. Carpenters. Answer: B. Electrical wiring is placed inside a metal pipe called a conduit. Question 6. Two people entered into a land contract for the purchase of a home and the contract was recorded. A few months later, the vendee abandons the property and defaults on the contract. If the vendee refuses to execute and record some form of release, it will A. Not affect the marketability of the property. B. Result in a deficiency judgment. C. Result in a trustee's sale. D. Create a cloud on the title. Answer. D. A recorded land contract show an equitable interest in the property. When the vendee, buyer, defaults and abandons the property, the land contract becomes a cloud on the title until it is removed by either a quitclaim deed or a quiet title action. Question 7. A broker who is hired by an owner to sell his property must reveal all significant and material information to the principal. Which of the following would be considered material information and must be revealed? A. The new lender will require the buyer to maintain an impound account. B. Agent's knowledge that a better offer to purchase is imminent. C. The prospective buyer is of Oriental descent. D. None of the above. Answer. B. The existence of a better offer that is imminent could very well be a material fact to the seller. It would probably influence his decision on a present offer. Question 8. Generally, the most important determinant of a property's value is A. Age. B. Utility. C. Location. D. Income. Answer. C. Location is the most important factor influencing value, the other factors being utility, size, shape, thoroughfare conditions, exposure, character of the business climate, plottage or assemblage, character of the soil, grades, obsolescence, building restrictions and zones. Question 9. Real property includes the land, those things attached to the land, and thing called appurtenances. Appurtenances include all of the following except A. A dwelling. B. Trade fixtures. C. Watercourses. D. A fence. Answer. B. Trade fixtures are considered personal property. Question 10. How many acres are in the west half of the south half of the south half of the south half of section 27? A. 20 acres. B. 40 acres. C. 80 acres. D. 160 acres. Answer. B. Section 27 equals 640 acres. S half equals 320 acres. S half equals 160 acres. S half equals 80 acres. W half equals 40 acres. Question 1. The right of survivors, in joint tenancy, to acquire the interest of the deceased tenant is called A. The right of conveyance. B. The right of survivorship. C. The right of tenancy extended. D. None of these. Answer. B. In a joint tenancy, if one of the tenants dies, the other inherits the property by means of the right of survivorship. Question 2. Real property is defined as land and appurtenances, including A. Permanent structures. B. Trees. C. Minerals. D. All of these. Answer. D. Real property is defined as land and appurtenances including permanent structures, trees, minerals, and rights of them. Question 3. The amount of the outstanding balance on a mortgage not including any interest or other charges is called A. The principal. B. The original loan amount. C. The primary. D. None of these. Answer. A. The principal balance is the outstanding balance of principal on a mortgage that does not include any interest or other charges. Question 4. A public official that keeps public records of real property transactions in their county is called A. A deed transaction recorder. B. A clerk. C. A recorder. D. A registrar of recording. Answer C. A recorder is a county public official that records of real property transactions in their area. Also called a county clerk or registrar of deeds. Question 5. A written contract that states the terms and conditions under which a property will be sold, and signed by both the buyer and the seller is known as A. A purchase agreement. B. A purchase note. C. A purchase order. D. A purchase contract. Answer A. Of the answers given, a purchase agreement is the most correct. A purchase agreement is the written contract that is signed by both the buyer and the seller that states the terms and conditions under which a property will be sold. Question 6. If a loan has a loan-to-value percentage in excess of 80%, what is required? A. Private mortgage insurance. B. A cosigner. C. A down payment in excess of 10%. D. None of these. Answer A. Private mortgage insurance is insurance required for loans with a loan-to-value percentage in excess of 80%. Question 7. If an owner reduces the principal on a loan before the due date, this is called A. A prepayment. B. A loan reduction strategy. C. A payment in excess. D. None of these. Answer A. A prepayment is a payment made before the due date and reduces the principal on a loan. Question 8. Another term for pity is A. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. B. Principal, insurance, topography, and isolation. C. Parties, interest, taxation, and insurance. D. None of these. Answer A. Pity stands for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Question 9. A mortgage payment that is not enough to cover the scheduled monthly payment on a mortgage is called A. A partial payment. B. A percentage payment. C. An interest-only payment. D. None of these. Answer A. A partial payment is a payment that is insufficient to cover the scheduled mortgage loan payment and is normally not accepted by the lender. Question 10. If you are given a formal written notice that a default has occurred, this is called A. A notice of default. B. Intent to levy. C. A notice of court action. D. None of these. Answer A. A notice of default is a formal written notice that informs of a default that has occurred and that legal action may be taken in the near future.
Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.